That's the thing that I've learned through all this is like as my journey and my like learning into, you know, how to live a healthier, longer, optimal life is like the main principles that I've learned are, you know, extreme cold exposure, extreme heat exposure, and fasting, and I'm just trying to do those in a regular way whenever I can.
And a massive transformative purpose is what you're telling the world. It's like, this is who I am, this is what I'm going to do, this is the dent I'm going to make in the universe. Steve Aoki, hey buddy, good to see you.
Hey, what's up, Peter?
Where are you this morning or afternoon, as the case may be?
Las Vegas, back home.
Nice.
I'm just it's like, you know, I always look at my house. Most people look at their home as their home. I look at it's like this is like my vacation because like my home is the road. You know,
I hear you. I hear you. And for a man, how many days on the road do you typically spend? I mean, I think you set a Guinness Book World Record for the most number of shows in a year.
Yeah, most traveled musician on the planet.
Amazing.
In one calendar year. But I'm definitely making efforts to slow down. I don't need to hold this title. You know, like it's not a title. It's exciting to hold. It is like, I do find myself like proud of this, you know, and when I hear about like, oh yeah, Aoki's the hardest working artist out there, but then I have the issues of sleep, my low REM numbers, which like astonish me, stuff like that.
And we're going to get to that. Everybody, I'm here on Moonshots and Mindsets with my friend Steve Aoki, Grammy-nominated, Billboard-topping artist, renowned DJ, philanthropist, fashion designer, author, futurist, surfer, and founder. And like you said, Guinness Book World Record for the most traveled musician in a single year. Yeah, man, that's cool. So welcome home. I hope you get to stay there for a couple of days.
I do.
Yeah.
I'm excited about this week.
Yeah. And it's funny, right? I mean, COVID was a relief for a lot of people. I mean, I'm a road warrior, not at your level, but it was addicting to be home during COVID for a little bit.
Oh my God. I totally agree. I mean, like the first part of COVID was tough, the adjustment. But once I settled in, once you tell your brain like, yo, this is how it's going to be, instead of like, you know, but when you're like, there's no more FOMO because no one's out. When you like take away the FOMO element, you're like, oh, this is life. Settle in, like, you know, figure out what you're going to do. That's when it became like a lot of fun. I love being home.
Yeah. I mean, you know, my heart goes out to people who, you know, lost family and got sick and lost jobs and all of that. But
yes. Yeah.
But, you know, those 2 years, I think a lot of folks are going to look back with this nostalgia of like, it was great not to get on an airplane or go to meetings and just hang out with family and friends.
That's the main thing, is hanging out with family and friends. Like it's, I remember I said this on a mic to a crowd right when COVID broke and I was playing shows again. I'm like, you know, COVID was all about spending times with people that you really know really well. Like that's your tight circle. You see them, you grow like even a tighter bond.
Yeah.
Which is something I'll never forget. Like swimming with my mom and my sister at like 12 at night, and we're like, well, we probably will never do this again. Like we might, but like these are moments we have to embrace this stuff. And like we're kind of like holding each other, like crying in our like in this moment of just amazing time with, you know, spending with your family. And then I remember I was talking about this on the mic, just like all heartfelt. And like I miss that, but it's interesting because like when I'm on stage, I miss this, and the whole point of me being obsessed with being on stage is because I want to be around people that I don't know.
Pumped and full of energy, right?
Yeah, yeah, and like I think it's like I'm like we go out here, we go to these shows, and I never make speeches at shows, but I'm like we go out here, we go to these shows to be around people we don't know. We're like, this is like part of who we are as humans, is that we like want to be around people we don't know in large gatherings. Like that's what's exciting. And we've been missing this for, you know, over a year. And this is why you can never take away festivals and shows, like, because it's just part of like our brain makeup is like we need that.
Oh, absolutely. There's a need to be in community and a need to be in your crowd. And, you know, for those who don't know, you and I met through your foundation, which is focused on brain-related matters. And you very kindly invited me to be a keynoter at your foundation event, and along with David Sinclair and some other amazing people. And it was great. And you know, we're kindred spirits, different in many ways, and 100% kindred in others. And so we've connected on longevity and on health and on brain science. And I guess you just did some brain-related imaging and reports. What's up?
Yeah. No, it's I went to Orange County and I met up with Dr. Amen.
Oh, great! Yes, Dr. Amen's awesome.
And like I've done a brain MRI before because I just wanted to make sure the brain was looking good. This was like 10 years ago, but I did a different. It wasn't an MRI. I laid back and you inject some isotopes. I guess they are radioactive, but they're not, they're not bad, or like it's a small, minute amount. So you inject some isotopes into your bloodstream that cling on to your brain somehow. I'm probably messing this whole thing up, but and then you lay back like you're going in an MRI, and there's these little cameras around this machine. So it's not like an MRI. It's not like you're going in this crazy thing with the crazy sounds, and you just lay back and they took pictures.
And I think they're looking at like blood flow in your brain, right?
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And it's like your brain, when you go and get an MRI, and I've done this through Fountain Life and through HLI a number of times. And I think we connected your mom to one of those centers, right?
Yes.
She going down? Yeah. When you go and you typically get an imaging of your brain. It's a static image, meaning it's just looking at the structure, like what's the volume of each part, and is there anything too big or too small in there. But what's really interesting is your brain uses a ridiculous amount of oxygen and glucose and energy. And so the real interesting is like your blood-brain flow, and your brain regulates where the blood goes depending upon its function. So I think Dr. Amen was looking at that. So how'd it go? Did you get a good report card?
So I got a report card that I've never seen before, which is that's what's so exciting. I think one of the cool things is you see like a healthy brain. And I mean, I did the scan, and I went 30 minutes later, I sat with Dr. Amen or about an hour later, and we showed my brain and a healthy brain. And what was cool is like the top layer was looked pretty good. There was a little valley dent in my prefrontal. Mm-hmm. It's like right here. So he attributed to potential like concussions, like hitting on the back of my head, which I've done from major spills, snowboarding, and doing, like extreme sports since I was a kid. Yeah. Which is actually quite interesting because like a lot of these like injuries I did or had were from 10, 20, 30 years ago. And you can still see that there is like the brain's like sloshed forward and created this dent right here. And he's like, okay, that's something to focus on. And then he flipped the brain upside down, and I got to see the underlying part of the brain, that was really cool.
Yeah.
And when you flip it up, you have these lobes that kind of pop up like almost like a helmet with like around your ears.
Sure.
And he was saying those are the temporal lobes, and they looked mangled. They were just deformed, and they're just
wow.
And they showed a healthy brain and my brain, and my temporal lobes were just like kind of like all just destroyed. And then he was saying that he's attributing to some sort of like emotional traumas and things like that. And then I also did neurofeedback at the same time of seeing Dr. Amen. Mm-hmm. And the neurofeedback reports when I do the brain map scan shows that I have issues in memory and in my tinnitus, like my
interesting
loud hearing.
And
attributed into the temporal lobe area. So that does have an alignment there.
I mean, obviously, you abuse yourself from an auditory standpoint. I mean, in terms of the amount of energy that's going into your eardrums every night that you perform. And since you're the highest performing artist out there, I mean, it's probably not as bad as being, on stage in the midst of a rock concert, but maybe it is. I don't know.
Yeah, I like right now in our conversation, I hear ringing.
Yeah.
It's just constant ringing, permanent ringing that I have to deal with for the rest of my life because there's no cure for tinnitus
yet.
Right? And I just live with it. I've been living with it since 2007. So it's it just gets louder and louder as I destroy more and more of my hearing. But so I wear earplugs pretty consistently now. But
I mean, it's interesting, right? A lot of us are naive about what's going on inside our bodies. We really don't know. I mean, and what's amazing, and I talk about this a lot, is that our bodies are really great at compensating for problems. And when you finally feel a problem, like if you have cancer, God forbid, you don't find out about it at stage 0 or stage 1 or stage 2. It's like stage 3 or 4 that you finally have some issues or problems. You go to the doctor at that point. So, I mean, that's a lot of why, the kind of imaging that's becoming possible now, MRI and CT and a whole bunch of other imaging modalities that allow you to look every year at your body, allow you to track what's going on in a preventative fashion instead of a reactive fashion. Hey, thanks for listening to Moonshots and Mindsets. I want to take a second and tell you about a company that I love. It's called Levels, and it helps me be responsible for the food that I eat, what I bring into my body. See, we were never designed as humans to eat as much sugar as we do, and sugar is not good for your brain or your heart or your body in general. Levels helps me monitor the impact of the foods that I eat by monitoring my blood sugar. For example, I learned that if I dip my bread in olive oil, it blunts my glycemic response, which is good for my health. If you're interested, learn more by going to levels.link/Peter. Levels will give you an extra 2 months of membership. It's something that is critical for the future of your longevity. All right, let's get back to the conversation in the episode. I mean, one of the things I know you and I have talked about a bunch is the whole issue of sleep.
Yes.
And how would you describe your sleep, my friend? I mean, you're you're on a unusual sleep cycle, to say the least.
Absolutely irregular. Absolutely irregular. And I know that's like part of, the main points of longevity is finding a really good, regular, schedule on all the things that you do to maintain health. Right. And I get that, but and I try to do that with everything else in my life, but it's nearly impossible if I was to, unless I quit touring, and I'm not going to do that. So it's like as much as I am into anti-aging and biohacking and trying to figure out all the different things to, optimize my life and live a healthy, long life. The touring is probably the worst part of all of it because, when I'm at home, I'll go to bed at a very regular time.
What time would you go to bed if you were like this week, or next 2 weeks when you're home? What is your ideal pattern fall into?
I'll probably go to bed at 1 or 2 latest.
Wow. That's AM, just to be clear.
Yeah. That's 1 or 2 AM. But when I'm playing shows, I'm going to bed 4 or 5.
Wow.
And I'm not a napper. Only when I'm on a plane, only when I'm in modes of transportation do I nap.
Yeah, the vibration and the lower oxygen level can knock you out. And so the other side of the question is, when do you wake up?
Well, see, the problem is when I'm touring, I have to get up for these early flights. And that's when I'm like, for this weekend, to give you an example, from Mexico City to Vegas to Edmonton, Canada back to Vegas on Sunday, I got a total amount of maybe 6 hours. Of sleep for that run of 3 days. So,
wait, 6 hours for the total of 3 days, or per day?
No, total for all 3 days.
Oh my God, that's insane.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not accounting the naps because they do count, but I don't want to count them, so I could be real with my numbers, as conservative as possible. But it's interesting because if you don't really do the diagnostic checks on your performance level, because I used to just run like that. I used to do my shows consistently. Like, if at one point I was doing 300 shows a year, and I was doing those runs where I'm doing like 2 to 4 hours a night asleep for, weeks on end, weeks and weeks and weeks on end. And I never diagnostic checked my shows, but I really diagnostic check as much as I can nowadays. Right. And I got my third show in Edmonton. I was like, I was like forgetting some of the lyrics of like songs that are very, very like, I'm like, why am clearly it's because I'm not sleeping. Or I was like, wait, make some noise. I'm like, wow, I'm not like so fluid. And, it's interesting how like the brain does, like, you think you're good, but you're not.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is not what you want to do at home. So you recently met up with a friend of mine, Matt Walker. I introduced Steve to Matt at one of my Abundance Platinum events, and he is the god of sleep. He wrote an amazing book, Why We Sleep, and what did he tell you?
Yeah, so
I mean, you're like the Antichrist to sleep.
That's why it's a perfect pairing. Peter, it's a godsend, no joke, and I'm so grateful.
My pleasure,
for the introduction. Thank you for that. And I'm always, especially things that I'm really deficient in, I'm always looking for the experts of those areas.
Sure.
And Matt is the god of sleep.
Yes.
He really is, and he's been really extremely helpful and attentive to my aura data. So we get on the call like once a week. We text quite frequently now, and he's always checking my data. And the things he's told me is it's like, it's funny to say, but it's really alarming. Like, I've never seen so low REM sleep ever. That's what he said. He's like, if I was to tell this to a close family or friend of mine, I would tell them they need to make an extreme change in their life.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, God, if you're telling me this, and I've been living this way for decades, I mean, I'm like in a bad, I mean, I'm laughing because it's so like messed up, but now I'm making changes. So that's why I'm laughing. Because I'm making changes.
Let's talk about that. What changes are you making? Because, I mean, when Matt Walker talks about reduced sleep, he's like, if you're sleeping 6.5 hours a day, that's not enough. not 6.5 hours over 3 days.
Oh, hold on. I just gotta read you like one of the lines.
Please.
I'm sure
this is meant to be. This is meant to incentivize everybody listening. That sleep is your superpower. I mean, yes. I when I was in medical school, I used to 5.5 hours sleep was what I would optimize for, and of course that's not healthy. And I shoot for 8 hours now, and I'm really pissed if I get 7. So.
Well, he did tell me and I love this analogy. I think it's brilliant because it makes me look at sleep differently. But he's like in the movie Limitless, that limitless drug,
yes,
where you're just you could do everything.
Yes,
your brain's just like firing.
I love that movie. Love it.
Yeah, he's like, the limitless drug that we can all take is more sleep. I'm like, oh my God, because I want to take this drug. It's like, just get more sleep. Just get more REM, and I'm like, oh my, like, I love thinking of it like that. Then I actually would start doing it. But anyways, he said, what do you say? Let's see, just on the REM, because like this is what my main focus is. I have good deep sleep for my aura ring, but my REM is just piss poor. This is some of the lowest amount of REM sleep I've seen in an individual consistently over time. We usually only see this in people who are heavy alcoholics, since alcohol blocks REM, though I know this is not you, of course, because I don't drink. So the reason you don't get REM is that you are only sleeping 4.5 hours a night, and therefore never give your brain the chance to get any REM sleep. So that's like my focus since he told me this a few weeks ago, and he put me on, or he told me to take this med trazodone. So I've been doing that nightly, about 50 milligrams of trazodone, and it's not consistent. I'll be honest. First time I took it, I got an hour of REM, which is astonishingly high for me, which is not high enough. As you know, Peter, I usually get like 20 or 30 minutes of REM, even at an 8-hour full horizontal sleep.
Yeah.
So it was good just to break the 60-minute, but I still need to figure out why my brain wakes up out of REM to not allow me to get 2 hours or what the usual dosage is. So I'm figuring that out. I'm still not there yet, but I had a healthy amount of sleep last night. I took 100 milligrams of trazodone last night, and I went to bed like at 2, and I, after like those 2 to 3 hour windows of sleep over the weekend, and I woke up at literally 12:30
in the afternoon.
Yes.
Awesome.
So I slept like
10 hours,
incredibly long.
Yeah.
But still 30 minutes of REM sleep with all that sleep. 30 minutes.
Well, for Christmas, I want to buy you some REM sleep.
Oh my God. This would be the best present ever. Oh my God. I desperately need more REM.
Oh my God. Hey everybody, I hope you're enjoying this episode. I'll tell you about something I've been doing for years. Every quarter or so, having a phlebotomist come to my home to draw bloods to understand what's going on inside my body. And it was a challenge to get all the right blood draws and all the right tests done. So I ended up co-founding a company that sends a phlebotomist to my home to measure 40 different biomarkers every quarter, put them up on a dashboard so I can see what's in range, what's out of range, and then get the right supplements, medicines, peptides, hormones to optimize my health. It's something that I want for all my friends and family, and I'd love it for you. If you're interested, go to mylifeforce.com/Peter to learn more. Let's get back to the episode. So, I mean, the other thing that you have to deal with, and I just dealt with this because I was back and forth to Europe twice and to the Middle East, is the whole area of jet lag, right? I mean, that must screw with you as well. So how do you deal with jet lag?
I deal with it like I've never hacked it. I've never hacked it.
I mean, is your brain just so screwed up in terms of not sleeping that it doesn't really matter?
I think my REM has probably been like, is it at this in a really bad position? Maybe my brain doesn't allow myself. I never checked my Aura data before I used to travel. I never had Aura back then.
Yeah.
So
Aura power.
Yeah. It's interesting though. When I travel to, like, let's say I travel to Japan, like if I go, I guess east, right? Or west.
Yes.
I'm in Nevada. When I go to Japan, like 3 days, I'm good. 3 days, I'm good. When I come back, it's like, actually, no, when I go to Japan, it's like 6 days, I'm bad. But I come back, it's like 3 days, I'm good. 3 days, I'm normal. So it's interesting when I go back to my time zone, it's a lot easier. When I go there, it's like twice as long. I don't
Interesting.
understand that.
Usually people do better when they go west. In fact, when you're looking at, like I was on this ship called the World Ship that would travel around the world, and it would always be moving east to west because it's you're gaining time in that regard versus losing it. But anyway, pal, I mean, the single most important thing for all of us in the world of sleep is prioritizing it. And I think for me, the biggest lesson, and there's a whole bunch of hacks, and I put out, sort of summaries, but Matt Walker's book is still Why We Sleep is the best. But it's prioritizing sleep and when you go to sleep, which is really hard for you. I mean, it's like I'm in bed if I have any control, I'm in bed at 9:30, and I hope to be asleep by 10. Because my brain wakes up in the morning at 5:30 or 6. So the only way for me to get 8 hours is that way.
That's great. Yeah.
You do cold plunges. Does that help you at all?
Yeah. I mean, I think that, like, I don't know if it's really helped me on my REM, but on overall performance and just excitement for life, just on that principle alone, I do it. I leave a cold plunge. I always say, like, whenever I onboard new members of the cold plunge extreme cold exposure membership club that I have here at my house. And I love introducing this to, like, very, very scared friends of mine. I'm like, you literally leave the water a brand new you. Like, it's a different you. If you're prepared for that, join me into this new exclusive membership club, the Extreme Cold Exposure Club.
So describe for people how long do you do a cold plunge for? Is it like an ice-laden bath? Talk to me about cold plunges 1 second.
So I'm obsessed with cold plunges. I got really into it through Wim Hof method, and I started working with some of his students or whatever in different parts of the world. We would just fill up baths in the hotel room and do breath work and all that good stuff. So I got my own here, and I went with Laird Hamilton. I did his house with him and Gabby, and was inspired. Got his same unit. So I got one here. It's a solo tub. You just sit in it and you fill it with ice. I got 2 of those because I had so many friends coming over. And then I got a 3rd one because I was the guy onboarding so many people to the ice exposure. And then I was like, you know what? I need to do one better. So I turned my water feature in my house, which holds probably at least 15 people. It's like a jacuzzi. It's so big. And I just put a chiller on there, and I just turned into another extreme
group cold plunge. That's
36.
Right. I mean, normally it's the
cold plunge, 36 degrees.
Normally it's the jacuzzi that everybody's jumping into here.
Yeah. So I get, like, the jacuzzi is actually not even warm. I don't even heat up the jacuzzi because I don't even use it. So I have my water feature that now we bring in like 6 people or whoever. I'm like, whoever I can onboard, and we sit in there for 4 to 5 minutes. I don't know at what stage is a diminishing returns effect, but
what's the longest you've ever been in a cold plunge? Do you know?
Interestingly enough, as much as I do it, and I was doing it like daily during COVID, and I do like 3 times a week, when I'm home. I've never broke 10 minutes. I always do like 9 minutes and I'm out. I don't like turn it into like this like marathon. Like, how long can I go? I just, my niece, I remember her, when she was 19 during COVID, we would do as a family, right? So we get my whole family together and do it. And the first time she did it, she couldn't last 30 seconds. And then by the 10th time, she wanted to beat my security who was staying with me, that he's a Navy SEALs. He was in the Navy SEALs. He did 45 minutes for whatever reason. Why? I don't know why. And she was so angry. She's like, I'm going to beat him. Like, Natalie, please do not do anything to endanger your health. I don't want to see you like have hypothermia. Just don't do it. And the next day she's like, I beat him 45 minutes and 30 seconds in the cold plunge. I'm like, this is, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
But
I've been, the longest I've done it probably is like 3 minutes. But when I remember doing it was going underwater and holding my breath, just to complete immersion for 60 seconds of that. And I hate cold. It's like, I hate it. But you're absolutely right, man. It is, you come out of that feeling so energized, so revitalized that it's awesome. You're just like, woohoo, I can just like do anything. Yeah. It's extraordinary.
Really?
Yeah.
It's always the worst before. There's no greater fear and feeling than before you even touch the water. And then the second biggest fear is in the first minute, because your brain is just going haywire. Like, oh my God, what's going on? Like, you got to get out, like blah, blah, blah. Heart rate goes up. Everything goes crazy. And then you think you're going to die. And you just have to tell yourself to calm down through that minute of pain and torture. And then boom, that thermal layer of heat goes over your chest. You're like, whoa, I'm not cold in the areas that are protected. Your fingers start getting cold and you just have to deal with that. But, and then you're like, wow, 4 minutes goes by pretty quick. And then you're just a brand new you and ready to take on the world.
You are. And as David Sinclair and many others will tell you, that cold plunge just activates so many genes that are revitalizing for you, because when the body's in extremis, it shuts down a lot of the lazy protocols and just gets you focused on performance. You know, there's heat shock proteins that get activated in a sauna. And one of the things I love doing at my friend's home, I don't have the situation here, is we'll go, you know, in the sauna for like 30 minutes and then cold plunge, and then in the sauna and cold plunge, just going back and forth. I feel like I'm going to crack on that.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. That's the thing that I've learned through all this, is like, as my journey and my like learning into, you know, how to live a healthier, longer, optimal life, is like the main principles that I've learned are, you know, extreme cold exposure, extreme heat exposure, and fasting. And I'm just trying to do those in a regular way whenever I can. And I definitely feel more optimal.
And sleep.
And sleep, which I need to put that in the fourth. Yes, I need to put that in the fourth. I always see those three, and I'm like, God, sleep is so important. And I am getting it, but I'm not getting enough REM, and I'm going to figure that out.
Steve, listen, thank you, my friend, for your unbridled enthusiasm and purpose and passion, and excited to be doing things with you. Excited to have you join us at A360 in March. Excited for helping spread the gospel of brain science and health through your foundation, and excited for the REM sleep I'm going to gift you.
Please. Thank you, Peter. I'd love to talk with you.
All right, brother. Be well.
All right, man.
Have a beautiful day.